I am David Wolf. I'm the author of Relationships That Work, The Power of Conscious Living, a transformative communication approach to self-realization. We recently published the second edition of the book, and I'm very happy to say that in the second edition there's many sections that enrich the book, both in terms of practical application, practice exercises to increase realization and integration in your life of the principles of transformative communication. And also there's enhanced depth in terms of the philosophical underpinnings, the concepts. We've addressed them much more fully in the second edition, I'm happy to say. Here's one section that is new for the second edition. It's entitled From Victim to Personal Responsibility. And of course, personal responsibility is a key theme in self-development and personal transformation and self-realization. And it is extensively addressed in the first edition. The first edition was published in 2008. The second edition we've published in 2017. And in the second edition, we address it in more nuance and subtlety, with more distinctions to help us understand where I'm standing responsible in my life, and where perhaps covertly I'm still playing in the role of victim. My stance is that, my point of view is that a stance of 100% personal responsibility for my experience in life, for the results in my life. A stance of 100% responsibility is the most effective, powerful position I could have to create a life of fulfillment and meaningful achievement. We talk about 6 dimensions. 3 dimensions of victim consciousness and 3 dimensions of personal accountability consciousness. 3 dimensions of victim consciousness. One is blaming others. That pretty much speaks for itself. And another is blaming self. Because sometimes I could think, oh, I'm at fault, I'm to blame. I said, there, I've taken responsibility. Actually, though, there's a world of difference between blame and responsibility. Oftentimes, blame, who's at fault, who's to blame, who gets the credit, who's good, who's bad. Oftentimes, it's a very closed-ended conversation. Sure, sometimes those conversations are important for ethical, moral reasons, for sure. But it can be closed-ended. Okay, I'm good, you're bad. I'm to blame, you get the credit. And it's closed-ended. There often is not much self-discovery there. Where it's a conversation about responsibility. Okay, how did I respond to create this result, to create this experience? I find that very often the responsibility conversation is one of that enriches self-discovery. And so blaming self, although we think that means I'm responsible, but that can be a way to hide out in guilt and shame, rather than truly look at, how did I respond to that situation that created this? How do I become a better person? How could I act differently? How will I act differently in the future? And another dimension of victim consciousness, we'll call that illusion of transcendence. And that can be where, like, I have a personal responsibility, personal growth belief system, but perhaps less than consciously. As Carl Jung said, till we make the unconscious conscious, it'll direct our life, and we'll call it fate. Perhaps less than consciously, I use my personal growth belief system to get in the way of my personal growth. And I might say, oh, I know I'm never a victim. I know I'm responsible for my life. I know no one's responsible except me. Like I say things like I talk a good game, but emotionally I still have a lot of victim emotions. Maybe I'm carrying hostility, resentment, powerlessness, humiliation. I'm carrying that, and I'm never going to allow myself to actually acknowledge it, experience it, release it, because I've convinced myself that I'm responsible. So it's like it's an illusion of transcendence. And we mentioned three dimensions of personal accountability consciousness. A foundational dimension is, I'll call it, emotional or experiential responsibility. And that's the saying is there. Between stimulus and response, there's a moment of choice. So whatever someone has done or not done, whatever happened or didn't happen, at that choice, I get to respond. However I choose to respond, I get to respond with hatred or love or humor or apathy or hostility or a sense of humor or whatever it is. Emotional responsibility. Another dimension of responsibility is practical responsibility. Looking practically. What did I do or not do? What did I say or not say that set up this situation? And practical, again, responsibility, it's not about I'm to blame, I'm at fault. Simply, here's how I responded or didn't respond to be the source of this situation. And a third dimension of personal responsibility, I'll call it spiritual. Whereas practical responsibility is how did I set that up? Spiritual responsibility is how come I set that up? Or how come, perhaps less than consciously, how come I co-created that with the absolute, with the ultimate, with God, whatever term we want to use, in terms of my personal growth, my purification, my life lessons. How come I co-created that with higher power? Thank you for viewing. I hope this meets you enthused in self-discovery.